Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I'm going to show you how to make a double slider gift card holder from the Fawn double slider surprise die set. This is really fun, really easy to do. We're going to take this piece here and we're going to cut two of those panels with the little tab on the ends. And we're going to take this piece here and we're going to cut one of those. And then we're going to take the inside sort of rectangular panel and cut two of those. Now all of those will be cut out of the paper bag cardstock from Fawn, and this is a 100-pound weight cardstock. And then we're going to cut another one out of the Ballet slippers cardstock, which is kind of a pale pink color. And then we're going to cut one more of that panel out of the Bristol smooth surface cardstock, which is also 100 pound. So we have some nice heavyweight cardstock here to make this, which is going to be good because it'll have a nice solid base. So we're going to take those two panels and we want to put a notch on each side of the panel. So we're going to place this little die here right at the very end of the cardstock, and I'm just going to tape it in place. And what we're going to want to do is do 4 of them, one on each side of both of those panels. So I put a little tape down and I'm going to run that through my Spellbinder's Platinum machine, and that's going to cut a little stitched half circle tab there. And again, we're going to flip it over and we're going to do one on the other side. So it'll look something like that, and we're going to do both panels. I'm using the purple tape, which is a nice masking tape to hold these in place while I'm running them through the die cut machine. So now we have those two pieces done, and we're going to take the white cardstock and we're going to take the reverse stitch scallop rectangle windows. We're using the third largest one, and we're going to place that inside this white panel. So I want to center it in there, and I want to tape it down and run that through my die cut machine. And this is going to give us a little window frame opening. So I'm going to go ahead and run that through. And you'll see now I have this beautiful double stitched border and a scalloped opening. So it looks really cute. So now these are the two panels that are going to go inside the gift card, and this is the simple gift card slots holder. And you can see on the back, we're going to use the one that cuts sort of an angle slot on each corner to hold and secure our gift card. So I'm going to just make sure that's lined up really well. It will come kind of close to the edge, but it works out fine. So as long as you center it really well, you'll be fine with it. I'm going to tape it down and I'm going to run that through the machine. You'll see here that I get a really nice crisp angled corner, which my gift card is going to slide right into those two little tabs there. So now I want to start with my images. I'm going to use the Thanks a Latte stamp set. I want that little mug there, the foam or whipped cream, and the Thanks a Latte stamps. And then I'm going to use the Donut Worry, and I want that donut there and the matching die. And I'm also going to use the Sweet Friend set, and from that I want the donut with the bite out of it, the little sprinkles, the strawberries, and the platter. And those also have matching dies that go with those as well. And all of these sets work really well together. They all coordinate together. It's really a nice collection. So I'm going to place all those stamps on my Misty stamping platform. There's the 3 strawberries and the donuts. This larger donut, we're going to be cutting 6 of those. And the donut with the little bite in it, we're going to be cutting 2 of those. And for the strawberries, we're going to be cutting 2 sets of those. We need 4 strawberries in total. Everything else we'll just cut 1. So I'm going to go ahead and ink all those up using my VersaFine Black Onyx ink pad. And now what I want to do is I want to die cut or stamp um, more of the donuts with the full donuts and the donut with the bite out of it. So we're going to have 6 full donuts, 2 sets of the strawberries, and 2 of the donuts with the bite out of it, and 1 of everything else. So we're all set there to place the dies down. I'm going to tape them in place with the purple tape, and I'm going to get those set and ready to run through the die cut machine. I'm going to go ahead and run those through my Spellbinders Platinum machine. And once I have everything cut out, this is what you'll have here, all these pieces. So we're ready to start coloring. We're going to use the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. And I'm using my Tim Holtz water brush with the detail tip in order to do the blending. You can do blending with the markers or with the water brush, either way. I'm going to start off with the light pink. In the end, I don't think I ended up using the water brush here. So, but if you prefer that, you can do the blending that way as well. So I'm starting with the light pink marker, and then I'm going to the pink, which is a little bit darker. And I'm going to go around the edges of that donut there, of the frosting on the donut, just to give it a little shading. And then I'm going to come back in with that lighter color of pink, light pink, and I'm going to blend the two together. So here's where you could do either one here. Because these are so small, I decided to just use the marker. I just didn't want them to get so wet because they're so tiny, but either way will work. Whatever you prefer, whatever you're most comfortable with. So here you can see me blending that out a little bit. Then I'm going to go and do the donut with the oatmeal color, which is a very light brown. And I'm just quickly coloring that in, not being fussy with it here. I'm going to continue to color the donuts. This one is going to be the mid brown, which is a little bit of a medium brown color. I'm going to do the donut. I did about half the donuts in a darker brown and half the donuts in a light brown. When the card is open, I wanted it to look like a half dozen donuts in a box. So that's kind of the look I'm going for. So I have sort of a variety of donuts in the box. So then I'm going to take the bright yellow. Just going to go around the whole bit of frosting there. And then I'm going to come in with the darker color, which is the orange, doing the same process. Going back to the lighter color, I'm going to blend those two out. And you see how easy this is. And you don't need to do this blending. If you want to just color them one color, that's going to look just as good. So don't be too fussy with this. Back to the mid brown for another darker donut. This whole thing is making me hungry. I want a donut. But they're so cute. I just thought this would be a cute card or gift for a teacher or a friend that did you a favor. I mean, and what I did was I made sure I matched everything up to the Dunkin' Donuts gift card that I was going to include in this, which are pinks and oranges and browns and that kind of thing. So so I tried to make sure that the donuts match. So whatever you're giving for a gift card, try to match up your donuts to go with that. So if you're doing a Christmas one, you could do some reds and greens, whites, whatever you like. But I just tried to make it look as though it all coordinated together. So here again, you see me doing another one of the darker one, again in that mid-brown color. I just think these are so cute. And then I'm going to take and do the light Carmine, which is also a pink color, just a little bit more vibrant than the light pink. And I'm using kind of a swirly motion to make it look like frosting. And then I'm going to take the Geranium red, and I'm going to use that on the outer edges. And again, like that swirly motion gives you kind of the effect of like frosting. So I kind of like that it has that look about it. So just kind of swirl that into the other color and blend those two out. And if you feel it needs more shading, you can go back and add a little more. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on these, so I just did the single blending and kind of left it at that. I'm trying to get a nice mix of the donuts here. I'm cleaning off that pen. When you use the other color markers for blending, you want to make sure that you clean them off, because those lighter markers will pick up the darker color. And if you clean them before you put them away, you'll always be sure that when you pick it up to use it again, it's not going to transfer any color that you didn't want. So here you see I'm putting a little bit more color down, lighter color, and going back to the orange again. And just blending it out. Now, if you're not interested in all this coloring, just fast forward to the section that you want to see. I just kept the coloring in case people weren't sure what colors I had used to match to the gift card and to blend together. So now I just have the one more here of the full donuts to do. Going back with that lighter color, and I end up deciding just to put that all over and use the darker color just to kind of blend that out. So you'll see that I'm going to take that mid-brown and I'm going to highlight the edges with that a little bit. It's like a nice chocolate donut, and I'm going to blend that out. Okay, so those 6 are all set. Now I want to do the ones with the little bite out of them, and one of those will be for the front of the card and one of those will be for the back. So I'm going to start with the lighter pink, and so for these two, choose whatever colors you like the best. I decided to do them both in a pink tone. The little panel on the back of the card is going to be that pale pink panel that we cut out earlier. So I kind of wanted to match it up to that a little bit, but any of these colors would work well. Going back in with a little darker pink here on the first one. Just cleaning that off a little bit because it was getting a little dark. So I wanted to get some of that darker color off the pen. And then for this one, I decided to go back to that geranium red, make it look just a little bit darker than the other one. So now we've got those two all set. Oh, I need to add the color for the donut, so I'm going to use the lighter one there, the lighter brown. And you see that I got a little bit of color on the white, so I'm using my Jelly Roll white pen to just go over that, just to make that not noticeable. And you can see I have a little bit there as well. So that Jelly Roll white pen is a really nice little tool to fix some small mistakes that you might have made. And if it doesn't cover the first time, just let that dry and then come back at it again a little later and add another coat of the white, and it usually takes care of the problem. So you can see I have the donuts ready. Now I'm going to take the Sweet Friends, the little sprinkles. You know, some people call them sprinkles, some people call them colored shots. But we're going to take those, and this was so relaxing to do. I'm going to take the ground espresso. I don't know why I just found this so relaxing just to sit and put these little sprinkles on here. But it was fun and easy to do, and it went really quickly. And I think it really makes the donut, I don't know, it just adds a little something. So see how cute those look? But then after that, I kind of decided they needed a little white to bring in some of the white from the rest of the card. So I just drew in my own sprinkles with a white gel pen. Now I certainly could have used some white ink, but I just decided it was just as easy to fill in the areas that I wanted to have white. So I had a little more control with the pen. So now I'm going to take the coffee mug, and I need to stamp the coffee in there, or the line for the coffee. So I'm going back to that VersaFine Onyx Black ink pad, and I'm just going to stamp that coffee mark or line in there so you can see that makes the coffee. And now I'm going to go ahead and color this in. I'm using the light blue, and I'm only going to use one color on this one. So I'm just going to apply the light blue to both sides. And I'm not an expert colorer, so if you have other things you like to use, or your Copics or your Tombos, whatever you prefer, do that. I'm going to use the water brush here because I didn't want to add any more color to this. I wanted it to stay very light. So I basically just use the water and I blend this out till I get a very, very light center of the coffee mug. So just working in kind of like little strokes towards the center there, just kind of pulling that ink in and just trying to blend it out as best I can. And if it does get a little wet on you, you can blot it up a little bit with a little bit of a paper towel and continue on. So don't worry about it if it's getting a little wet. Even here you'll see that I take a little piece of towel and I just blot it up a bit. And then you can continue blending. Just going to do that back area there, not much, not fussing with this too much. Now I'm going to take that oatmeal color again. This nicely ties in the color, and the mid-brown. This nicely ties in the color from the donuts to the coffee, and everything sort of works together Just adding a little darker color to the corners there, and then I'm going to pull that in, just kind of lifting my pen and pulling it in towards the center and blending that out. And I'm cleaning that off because it was getting a little dark and I wanted to keep that center part with a little bit of a light um, reflection there. So just touching that up a little bit, and that looks pretty good. I'm just using my Tim Holtz pick tool and just pushing out that little piece of the die that didn't come out prior. Now I have the little platter. This is for the strawberries. We're going to put the strawberries on this, and I'm using that same light blue color, and I'm just adding color to both sides, and again using the water brush, pulling that down and into the center there. Trying to keep the highlight in the middle of the coffee cup and the platter. Now I have the little strawberries. These might have been easier to color in before. I'm using the Geranium red. These might have been a little easier to color in prior to cutting them out, but it wasn't too bad, and there was only a few of them to do. I'm adding the Geranium red up towards the top of the strawberry, and then I'm going to take the light pink and I'm going to blend that out. I didn't want to use water here because these are so little that I was afraid it would just get too overwhelming and maybe start to bleed a little bit. So I'm just blending that out. Cleaning that off a little and blending the rest. Now for the stem, I'm going to use the May green, which is a bright green, like a dark lime color. And I'm going back to that pick tool just to hold those little guys in place while I color that in. No blending here, no shading here. They're just so tiny, I didn't think it would really matter. You could if you want to. So those are all set. I did decide to color this in with the light gray, just to give a little shadow to it. I felt like it needed a little something. I want it to be white, but I felt it needed a little shadow. So I'm just adding a little shadow there and using my water brush to blend it out. It's not real noticeable and it may be hard to see on camera, but it did have a little effect. Now that those little strawberries are dry, I'm going to take my white gel pen and I'm just going to put some little dots on them. Again, bringing in that white and giving them a little bit more dimension. And I think you can see that there. It's hard to see, but it does look cute. So now I'm going to take my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen in the Crystal Clear, which is a beautiful sparkly pen, and I'm just going to fill that in, and it just added a lot to it. Gives it a nice little sparkle, and I love these pens just to add some texture. Now on the strawberry I'm putting a little on too, but be careful here. If you've already put your white gel pen down, it could bleed the gel pen a little bit, or mute it out a little bit, I should say. So I just dabbed it on. I didn't paint it on. I just kind of dotted it on. Now I'm using the score tape again here, the 1/8 inch, and we're going to start to assemble the slider. So I've put tape on each of those two tabs. And I'm going to connect those two together. I'm just lining them up, making sure everything is straight, and attaching those two pieces together. Now for this little panel that goes inside, you will need a piece of plastic. You could use a plastic I'm using a plastic bag from a packaging that I got, which is a little heavier weight than like a plastic grocery bag. And I do like how it works. It's got a little body to it. So I'm putting a little piece of tape on the end there, and I did trim it to 2¼ inches wide, and I forget, about maybe like 11 inches long. I think you just need enough to wrap it around and tape it together. So you're gonna just wrap it, tape it there. Mine was much longer than I needed it to be, and then I just cut off the excess. So just check after you've done that to make sure that everything's kind of moving as it should, that you didn't attach it too tight. You want a little bit of play in there, but not a lot. Now I'm going to take that 1/8 inch score tape at the top and the bottom, and I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do that same thing again. I just had a little excess there, so I'm going to trim that off. So now this little panel is ready to apply my pieces to when I'm ready. But for now, I want to get these two panels, I want to add a little texture to them. So I'm taking my ground espresso ink pad, and I'm just going to kind of go around the edges of those a little bit, just to darken up the edges some. And of course, the one that has the donuts on it is going to look like a little box of donuts. So I wanted the edges to be a little darker and the center to be lighter. So I'm just going to apply that ink all the way around. And I really like this ground espresso color. It's nice and dark. It's a nice rich tone. Now, what I'm going to do here is lay out the donuts on this little panel, or my little box of donuts here. And I'm just trying to figure out what order I want them in. I kind of want to mix them up a little bit, the chocolate donuts and the lighter donuts. And like I said, the colors are going to match my little gift card. So I'm good there with all that. So I'm going to take my Lawn Fawn glue tube, and I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. So that looks really cute to me. I like that a lot. I'm going to just put an acrylic block on there and set those aside and let that dry. And now I'm going to take my my gift card, and I'm going to just slide that into place, and you'll see you just pop it in. It had some glue on it, and I wanted to get all that off, but I'm going to pop it in that corner and kind of bend the card a little bit to slide the other corner in, because I didn't want to tear the paper. Like I said, it's pretty close to the edge here. So, so manipulate the gift card a little bit if you can. Don't try to, pull on the paper too hard. So you can see that I'm placing that piece of tape over that seam that was there. And then I'm going to, on the right side, I'm going to flip it over and put a piece of tape on the back on the left side. It doesn't really matter which is the front or back. Just remember that if the tape is on the left side, the card is going to get lined up to the right side. And the first piece you put down will be face up and lined up to the right. And then when you flip it over, now if your tape is on the right side, your card will get lined up to the left side, and you'll be face down. And now you can see that it moves in and out freely. And I would test this before you go any further. Just make sure everything's moving properly, because if you need to make any adjustments, it's easier to make them now. So now I've got that other piece that we had before, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape from the back of this little panel here, and I'm going to line it up with that bottom edge. Just making sure everything's straight here before I really stick it down. And then I'm going to put that in place. And I'm going to remove the tape, the backing on the tape, from the top and from the bottom. And I'm going to fold that bottom piece up and into place. And I'm checking to make sure everything's moving here before I go ahead and close this. You want to make sure that nothing got stuck on anything else. So just kind of make sure that it's all working. And I kind of pulled these out before I closed it, just to make sure nothing got in the way, and then it closed nice and flat. So there you have it. It's nice, it works well, and it's all in place. These are actually really easy to do. I've done a couple now, and each time you do them, it gets a little bit easier. I'm taking that ground espresso and I'm going all around the edges of the front of that little card. And I decided I would do the back as well. So that looks good. Now I want to take that little panel that we made earlier with the window frame in it, and I'm going to add some pattern paper. And this is from the Nitpicky Fall paper pad. This is a 6x6" pad, and they have some beautiful colors in here. Just beautiful. And I love the pink, of course. And so I'm going to use that pink, I guess, crisscross plaid. And I'm just going to make sure it fits inside the back of that window there. So just cut it to the size you need to make sure it fits behind there. Just trimming it down a little bit, and then I'm going to put a little glue on the back of that and position it in place. And the only reason I used the glue was just in case I needed to move it around a bit to make sure that plaid was lined up nice and straight. It gives me a little bit of play time. If you feel comfortable, just use your tape. And everything looks good there. And I'm just making sure it's nice and secure. And I'm going to put an acrylic block on that and let that dry. Now I'm going to take the Thanks a Latte saying from the Thanks a Latte set, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on my Misty. And I want it to be in the upper left-hand corner. And I love all these sayings because they mix and match. You can have all different varieties of sayings together. I thought this was cute with the Thanks a Latte. Going back to the VersaFine Onyx Black ink pad, I'm just going to stamp that right there in the left-hand corner. So now I have that in place. I want to kind of do the layout of the front of the little gift card holder. So I'm going to just kind of play around with this a little bit and see what I like. I love those little strawberries. They're just adorable. And they look cute on that little platter. And they add a little bit more color, a little bit more of that pinky red color. So I think that looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and attach all those pieces together. This is such a cute set. I love the donut with the little bite out of it. And there's my little platter of strawberries. So I'm going to add some glue there. And on these last two, I decided I would add a little photo mounting tape just to pop them up a little bit for some dimension. I'm just going to cut a little tiny square of that. Place that one in the middle of the platter. And I'm doing the same thing for this other one. So that looks really cute to me. So that's good. I think that's all set. And that's ready to get attached to the front of my little card. I just want to make sure it's right side up before I attach everything together. Now I'm putting the tape on and it worked out fine. I should have paid a little more attention to not having tape over that little semicircle tab, but it wasn't touching anything, so I was okay. But keep that in mind when you're putting your glue or your tape down. Try not to put any right where that little half circle is. But this worked out okay. It didn't stick to anything. I'm just centering it on that. And you can see that I'm just checking to make sure that tape didn't get in the way of those little tabs. And it was fine. Now for the back of the panel, I've got that pink one, that pink little rectangle that we cut earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and attach that. I was a little more careful with the tape this time, trying to avoid that little half circle. Making sure that I'm right side up again. I'm going to center that panel on the back. I'm not attaching this to a card. I'm going to simply have it be a separate piece, just a separate gift card holder. And then I'm just going to attach that last donut to the back here, just for a little decoration. And the back, you could put another stamped sentiment back there, or write your, sign your name back there, or any well wishes there. So, so that's what it looks like when all is said and done, and it moves nice and freely in there, and I just think it's adorable. This would be a great little gift, like I said earlier, for a teacher or a neighbor or a friend, just a little fun thing. And it is reusable. They can pop that gift card out and put one in and reuse it for someone else. So I like things that when you spend this much time, that can be used again. So now I just wanted to show you quickly that I made a little envelope to match this. So I'm using the We Are Memory Keeper envelope maker, and I'm measuring my little finished card here at 3 by 4 1/4. So what you do is you go to the little chart on here and you find the card that matches as closely as you can. So I'm finding that 3 1/2 by 4 1/2 I think would be perfect. So I'm going to use that as my dimension. And so I have to cut the paper, and you scroll over at 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. So once you find the measurement for the card, you go over to the next column and it'll tell you what size to cut the paper. So I'm going to cut, I have some vellum cardstock here, and I'm going to cut this at 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. I was thinking of using some of the paper from the Petite paper pad, but it's a little too small. It's only 6 by 6. So if you have the larger pad, a 12 by 12, you could certainly do it with the matching paper. But then I decided I thought the vellum would be kind of cute. So I used my We Are Memory Keeper trimmer to cut that to size. I'm going to show you again here. 6 3/4 by 6 3/4, which means my marking is at 3. So you see me put the paper at the 3-inch mark right there. And then I'm going to punch and score. Then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to line that line up with the one underneath or with that little tab, and I'm going to punch and score again. Turning again, same thing, lining that up, punching and scoring, and one more time, lining it up with the little tab and the line underneath it, and I'm going to punch and score. Now I want to round off the little corners of the envelope, so I'm going to just slide it into the back of the punch and just press, and it has a little corner rounder back there, which I think is really nice that it's all included. So now I'm just going to fold those up, the sides up, and I'm using my Teflon bone folder from Lawn Fawn to press those down, and it's making a really beautiful crease in there. So now to attach this together, I'm just going to go ahead and use a little bit of score tape. I'm using the 1/4" score tape. Just going to put a little strip. It's pretty clear, so it's not going to show a real lot here. If you prefer, you could use some glue. I thought this was fine. You'll see in the end it looks just fine. And I'm just putting a little tape on each side. Just going to remove the backing on that and close that up. And that gives me a perfect little a vellum envelope to put my card in. And if you face it towards the front, they can see it. And I also think it would be cute if you had one more donut, maybe to seal the back of it, possibly, or a little sticker or something, or just tie ribbon around it. That would look nice too. So here's the completed card, the front and the back of the card itself. And then the next frame will show you the how it looks when it's open. And at the end, you'll see the card in the vellum envelope. So I hope you had fun today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe.